Welcome back, it's JWalter here, and here's your latest housing market update. I'm really excited to share today's video because I did a lot of digging and a lot of research regarding housing starts in the US because the US Census Bureau just announced today at the time of this video, which is April 19th, they released housing construction data for the US. This includes permits pulled, housing starts, housing that actually has been completed, and much more. So with that said, let's begin today's video. There's so much to share in today's video. So this is a common headline we're seeing right now by the mass media. CNBC is reporting US housing starts unexpectedly rise in March and building permits also increase. So one would assume that this means that home buyers are going to have more options down the road because housing construction is picking up greatly, especially in regards to housing starts and building permits. However, CNBC caught on to this. US home building unexpectedly rose in March, but starts for single family housing tumbled amid rising mortgage rates. I'm really glad they shared that because I also noticed this when I was analyzing this data for you guys. I have so much to share with you guys today. I'm such a nerd because I love housing market data, and some changes here you would not see unless you really took a really close look at this data. So this is the actual report from the US Census Bureau. Again, they just announced this today at the time of this video, and this is for monthly residential construction for March 2022, and this is according to the US Census Bureau as well as HUD. Okay, let me first share housing starts in the US. Here's a seasonally adjusted annual rates for the United States, and here's total housing starts in the US. Again, these are seasonally adjusted rates. Also, these are in thousands of units. So for March 2022, we reached 1.793 million housing starts or total housing starts in the US. And that's a gain of 3.9% compared to 1 year ago. However, where did this number come from? Where did this increase of 3.9% come from? And hint, it did not come from single family houses because the increase is mainly due to building of 5 units or more. So take a look at this. So these are buildings in which there's 5 units or more that are being constructed. So that's an increase of 7.5% compared to February 2022 and a whopping 28.1% increase compared to 1 year ago. So right now there's 574,000 housing starts for 5 units or more. And this is the highest levels in at least over 1 year because 1 year ago we were at 448,000. Now we're at 574,000. So in contrast though, home buyers obviously want to buy single family houses and also condos as well. I'm going to be sharing some stats regarding condos and townhomes because one would assume that these 5 units or more, some of those would be condos or townhomes for sale, but that's not the case. I'm going to be sharing some stats with you in just a little bit. In any case, for 1 unit or single family houses, for housing starts in the US for March, we're down 4.4% compared to 1 year ago and also down 1.7% compared to 1 month ago. So to summarize here briefly, because I know I'm talking very quickly, for 1 unit, we're down 4.4% compared to a year ago. However, housing starts for 5 units or more, these are buildings in which there's 5 units or more in that building, we're up 28.1%, and that's why we're seeing this big increase overall for total housing starts, because this is the number here that the mass media focuses on, total housing starts. But in my personal opinion, we want to look at single family houses because that's really what home buyers are looking to buy. Home buyers are really not looking to buy apartment buildings, for example. Okay, to summarize this table right here, and I have a lot more to share with you. So total housing starts, we're not seeing builders ramping up construction for single family houses as much as 5 units or more. The reason for this is because these are mainly apartment buildings they're going to be building to rent. So investors that are building houses to rent out to renters. For single family houses, obviously it's more tied to home buyers and also, more importantly, mortgage rates, because people looking to buy single family houses, the vast majority, around 75%, are using loans in order to purchase single family houses. In stark contrast though, investors looking to build apartment buildings aren't necessarily tied to mortgage rates necessarily because sometimes they have investors, et cetera, et cetera. So In any case, housing construction for apartment buildings is not tied as directly to mortgage rates as single family houses. So here's an Excel spreadsheet that I found for you guys on the US Census Bureau's website again. And these are housing starts. These are units in buildings with 2 units or more. In other words, multifamily properties. So have a look at this because they actually list the purpose of housing construction for these units. So again, these are multifamily units. So we're looking at 2 units or more. These columns here, again, a big increase of 5 units or more, a decrease for single family houses. When you look at buildings with 2 units or more, look at this. The number for rent, 113,000 versus the number of multifamily units that are actually for sale. So have a look at this. For total housing starts for multifamily properties, that made up 120,000 in the fourth quarter of 2021. Again, 120,000 was the total number of housing starts in Q4 of 2021. However, look at how they break it down by the purpose of construction, So the number of houses that are being built, or the number of multifamily properties that are being built, the vast majority go to renting. Renting is the purpose of building it. So 113,000, we only had 7,000 units that were actually being built for sale. So I actually did some math here on the side here. 94% of the 120 is actually going to building multifamily properties to rent out, whereas only 6% are being built to sell. So one would assume that a lot of the houses that are being built that are multifamily would go to builders who are building condos and townhomes that are going to be listing for sale. However, the vast majority of the multifamily housing construction right now is going to investors who are building apartment buildings because they actually break it down by the number of units per building as well. So 2 to 4 units, which is basically duplexes, triplexes, and quads, only represented 3,000. Same for 5 to 9 units. But have a look at this. For apartment buildings, which again would be 20 units or more, that was 106,000, far more than any other units here for 2 to 19 units. So it says here 106 units is the total number of housing starts for 20 units or more out of the 120. So basically, the vast majority of the housing starts for multifamily is going to apartment buildings that they plan to rent out, not condos or townhomes. So in other words, it appears that investors are very bullish regarding the rental market because they are ramping up construction of apartment buildings, again, for rent versus decreasing the amount of housing construction for single family houses because those are tied more directly to mortgage rates. To give you guys an idea about how bullish investors are regarding building apartment buildings to rent, have a look at this because this is for the entire year of 2021. If you add up all these numbers here, again, these are in thousands of units. That gives you 446,000 units that are being built in 2021 for housing starts for rent. When you look at the past few years though, look at that. So again, 2021, there was 446,000 housing starts for the purpose of construction is for rent versus the entire year for 2020, it was only 373 versus 446,000 in 2021. In addition, 2019 and 2018 were far less than the levels we have right now. Look at 2018. We basically have 100,000 more housing starts for multifamily properties that the purpose of that is for construction. So it really goes to show how bullish investors are for the rental market, especially for apartment buildings. There's one more table that I want to share with you guys. They're going to be going back to support from the US Census Bureau, but I really want to really share this with you guys because it's really mind-blowing when you see we're not going to be seeing this big influx of single family houses to come in the years to come because it appears that investors are really buying multifamily properties in order to rent them out. So we're not going to be seeing this flood of inventory for single family houses, at least based on the data we have right now, for permits pulled and also for housing starts as well. So have a look at this. This is the last table I want to share with you before I get off my soapbox regarding this. But this is the total number of units completed by quarter. So 2021, for fourth quarter 2021, it was 82,000 for the purpose of construction was for rent. So the vast majority of multifamily properties, again, 2 units or more, were going towards construction of multifamily properties for rent versus only 8,000 for sale. So again, 91% going towards rent, only 9% going for sale. All right, so comment below if you have any questions regarding that. I did my best to kind of explain this, but it was really mind-blowing when I was analyzing this data for you guys. Just looking at how bullish investors are and really seeing that if you look at total housing starts, that really does not give you the full story here. So, share this video with anyone you feel may get any value out of this video. Anyway, so total housing starts, again, basically 1.8 million, a gain of 3.9%. But when we look at single family houses, which is what home buyers mainly want to buy, that's a decrease of 4.4%, and 5 units or more, increase of 28.1%, the highest levels in at least over a year. And then single family houses, housing starts actually have been decreasing for 2 consecutive months. Okay, so that was housing starts. Let's have a look at permits actually pulled. So we're actually seeing the same phenomena as well, because we're seeing that builders are more bullish on multifamily properties for rent versus building houses for single family homes for home buyers. So again, this is the total number of permits actually authorized. These are in thousands of units, and these are seasonally adjusted annual rates here. So in the US, total permits pulled was 1,873,000. That's a gain of 6.7% compared to 1 year ago. However, again, look at single family houses. They have decreased 4.8% compared to 1 month ago and are down 3.9% from 1 year ago. So in stark contrast, just like we saw for housing starts, for 5 units or more, again, over 90% are going towards investors who want to rent out these properties, not condos and townhomes. That represented a 33.6% gain compared to a year ago, and almost an 11% gain compared to 1 month ago. So it appears that builders are more focused on building multifamily properties in order to rent out versus building single family houses. So in other words, home buyers are getting screwed. Okay, changing gears slightly, let's talk about units authorized but not yet started. So basically, the builder has received a permit to start construction of building a brand new house, but they are opting not to start construction. And this is because a lot of challenges that home builders are facing right now with labor costs being very, very high, construction costs being very high, as well as supply chain issues with delays in getting materials as well. In any case, we've been seeing this for quite some time where builders are getting permits pulled, but they're not starting construction because of all these headwinds that they are facing. So have a look at this. Units authorized but not yet started for March 2022. We're seeing an increase of 22.3% compared to March of 2021. But single family houses, we have an increase of 14.6%, and 5 units or more, an increase of 31%. However, here's some good news for home buyers looking to buy a single family house though. So have a look at this. Here's the total number of units under construction as of the end of March 2022. So for single family houses, that reached 811,000 units under construction as of the end of March 2022, the highest levels we've seen in at least over a year, and a gain of 27.3% compared to 1 year ago. So obviously this is very good to see. We're seeing a big increase in the number of units under construction for single family houses. The big question, of course, is how many of these units here that are under construction, how many of these are already under contract with the home buyer? Because a home builder can sell lots that are actually dirt lots, and they're not going to be building a house for 6 to 12 months from now, or they can sell houses that are already under construction or already completed. So I'll give you an update regarding that because the US Census Bureau released those stats in about a week. So I'll make a video about that here in just a little bit. In any case, the total number of units under construction for single family houses were the most in the Midwest by 25.3%. In the South actually was the most by 35.1%. Compared to 1 year ago. In the West, we have an increase of 21.7%. So all positive signs if you're looking to buy a brand new house. However, like I said, a lot of these would be under contract with a home buyer already. Okay, last but not least, let's talk about units completed. So total units completed, we have a decrease of 13% compared to a year ago. That includes single family houses and also multifamily units as well. Where we look at single family houses, the total number of single family houses completed as of the end of March 2022 is a decrease of 3.3% compared to 1 year ago. 5 units or more, we're actually seeing a big decrease there as well. A decrease of 36.1% of units completed as of March 2022. So for single family houses, we're seeing a big decrease in the Northeast, a 28.2% decrease in single family houses that are actually completed, versus the South only decreased by 0.8%. In the West, we have a decrease of 6.6% compared to 1 year ago. So comment below with your biggest takeaways from today's video. In my personal opinion, my biggest takeaway was, how many of those multifamily units are actually being constructed to rent and not to be sold? And that's really screwing home buyers right now. So hope I have better news for you in the future here. In any case, if you got any value out of today's video, please hit the like button. I greatly appreciate that. Also, consider subscribing if you haven't done so already. Hope you have an awesome day. Look forward to seeing you in the next video.